Find out if a controversial portrayal of the president has affected state fair attendance.
New information on that hit-and-run crash in a Columbia neighborhood this week.
More than a month after the shooting, police arrest 3 in connection with a 17-year-old's death. KUMU8 News at 5 starts right now.
Live from Studio 8A, coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KUMU8 News First at 5.
Police have arrested 3 suspects in connection with the July murder. Good afternoon, I'm Brittany Pieper.
And I'm Nicole Kersavage. Police say someone shot and killed 17-year-old Travion Marshall in a northern Columbia park. Police arrested 18-year-old Joshua Murray, 17-year-old Kimberly Hewitt Lindsay, and 19-year-old Nicholas Thomas last night and early this morning. They charged both Murray and Thomas with first-degree murder and armed criminal action, and Hewitt Lindsay with hindering prosecution. Police have not released Thomas's mugshot yet, and he is waiting to be transferred to the Boone County Jail. KUMUH Joe Prozek has been following the investigation all day and joins us live at the police station with more information on the arrest. Joe?
Police arrested Murray late last night and Hewitt, Lindsay, and Thomas early this morning. Someone shot and killed Marshall on July 14th at McKee Park in Columbia. Following the murder, Marshall's family held a march and candlelight vigil in honor of Marshall. Columbia police say they hope the arrests will help restore some faith in the police department.
I hope it gives them a little confidence in our abilities. We do follow up on the cases and we do continually investigate them. A lot of times we can't share any details or updates because they would, compromise the investigation. But we do continuously work on these cases even weeks or months after they happen.
Hewitt Lindsay posted her $4,500 bail this morning and was released from jail. Bail has not yet been set for Thomas and Murray. Reporting live in Columbia, Joe Prozek, KUMU8 News.
After a hit and run in a residential neighborhood earlier this week, authorities say they released the 8-year-old child from the hospital. Hospital officials say the mother's condition has improved. Earlier this week, an unknown driver plowed into a car, then ran away from the scene. Police are still searching for that suspect.
The trial for former Columbia police officer Rob Sanders that was supposed to begin today has now been postponed until September 26th. Sanders was charged with third-degree assault and lost his job after he was accused of using excessive force against an inmate in 2011. Sanders was a police officer for 18 years. He also faced a separate accusation of excessive force in 2011, but was never officially charged for that.
The hot talk at the state fair tonight is still Saturday's incident involving a rodeo clown who was wearing a mask of President Obama. Despite the controversy that's gained national attention, people are still coming out to enjoy fair festivities.
KUMU8's Jasmine Bailey joins us live from the state fairgrounds in Sedalia. She asked fair officials how that stunt has impacted attendance. Jasmine?
As you can see behind me, there's actually quite a bit of people that are here.
It did, and wasn't something we were able to control at the time.
Wolf says the main focus of the fair are the 4-H kids and the FFA kids. The Missouri Rodeo Cowboys Association is behind the incident, and they're dealing with it separately. That particular cowboy that wore the mask will no longer be allowed at the fair. Reporting live in Sedalia, Jasmine Bailey, KUMU8 News.
Also this morning, Governor Jay Nixon condemned that state fair rodeo clown incident as disrespectful and offensive during his remarks at the state fair ham breakfast. Nixon and other lawmakers say they will continue to fund and support the fair. The state fair imposed a lifetime ban against that clown who wore the President Obama mask and asked the crowd if the crowd wanted to see if they wanted to see Obama run down by a bull.
The federal government says several Missouri organizations will share nearly $1.8 million in grants to help people sign up for health insurance through a new online marketplace. Primaris Healthcare Business Solutions will get more than $1 million to lead a coalition of organizations built to raise awareness about health insurance options. An additional $750,000 will go toward outreach and education efforts at the Missouri Alliance of Area Agencies on Aging. Enrollment through the online marketplace begins October 1st.
FEMA officials are on the ground assessing flood damage in several mid-Missouri counties tonight. Officials spent much of the day in Osage and Miller counties, and they're in Pulaski County right now, walking from home to determine the extent of that damage. Take a look. We have some file video of the flooding that caused all of that significant damage across the southern part of our viewing area last week. KOMU 8 News is out there with FEMA officials right now. You can tune in at 9 and 10 to hear what they have to say about the impact in our area.
It's the first day of school in many districts across the state today, and more than 2 years after a devastating tornado, Joplin students are still adjusting to where they learn. Right now, it's just a bunch of steel, but at this time next year, students will file into this huge new school on their first day. KOMU 8 News spoke with a student beginning her junior year, meaning she will be a part of the first graduating class at this new school. She said
it's also kind of an honor because Joplin Schools has kind of been a symbol for Joplin rebuilding for the past 2 years.
This year, the 11th and 12th graders attend the class at a temporary high school inside North Park Mall. School administrator Kelly Price told KOMU 8 News after the tornado the school didn't have a place big enough to house all the students.
The Columbia Police and Fire Department are on the scene of a serious accident right now. It happened just moments ago at the corner of Grindstone Parkway and Ponderosa Street in southeast Columbia. Crews are trying to get a male driver out of the vehicle. He's pinned inside. We are on the scene and we'll have more information here and on KOMU.com as soon as we can get it. MoDOT is kicking off its annual Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign. To get things started, MoDOT showed off its new breath alcoholizing van. They call it the Bat Van. They showed that off this morning. The van is equipped with multiple processing areas and breath analyzing instruments. Law enforcement agencies throughout the state will use it to conduct sobriety checkpoints and encourage people not to drink and drive. MoDOT representatives say they hope this campaign gets intoxicated drivers off the roads.
And that's really the main reason that we do all of these mobilizations, because the sad fact is that there are lives lost and there are lives changed as a result of impaired driving.
The Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign starts tomorrow and runs through September 2nd.
An SUV slams into a North Carolina home and wildfires spread throughout Utah. KOMU 8's Patrick Rawlings is here with your First Nation report.
An SUV crashed into a home near a busy intersection in Charlotte, North Carolina. The crash happened just before noon. Check out the video of the aftermath. It appears the home suffered significant damage. Emergency crews responded to the scene, including a medical helicopter. Officials say one person is injured. Wildfires spread throughout Utah near Park City. Check out these aerials. Hundreds of firefighters battle the flames. Officials say lightning strikes sparked the fire. The fire destroyed at least 14 homes in Summit County. Officials expect high winds to diminish today and hope they can contain 50% of the fire. President Obama today condemned the violence in Egypt and announced the U.S. will cancel joint military exercises with Egypt. Speaking from his vacation at Martha Vineyard, the president called on Egypt's authorities to respect the universal rights of its people. He also encouraged demonstrators to protest peacefully. Egyptian officials say more than 500 people died in clashes across the country between supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi and security forces. And that's your first look around the nation.
More than 600 have been killed in those clashes in Egypt, and the country's interior ministry says security forces will use live ammo to protect themselves and government buildings. This comes after protesters defied a ban on public demonstrations and burned a government building in a suburb of Cairo. Supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood defied an emergency law declared yesterday banning public demonstrations by going back out onto the streets today. Secretary of State John Kerry and Iraq's foreign minister met today to speak about a range of Middle East security issues. With civil war raging in Syria and a series of bombings and attacks on civilians inside Iraq, Kerry expressed concern about the flow of weapons between the two countries. Just today, a car bomb in Baghdad killed more than 30 people, but Iraq's foreign minister vowed his nation is not looking for a repeat of civil or sectarian war.
It's been a beautiful week weather-wise. Now let's send it over to Kenton to see how much longer we can expect it to last.
Yeah, Nicole, it has been a very unorthodox week for us, that is for sure. We'll have more about that coming up in my 8-day forecast.
If you've had one cup of coffee today, you may want to keep it that way. Find out why coming up on KOMU 8 News at 5. Right now, you are taking a live look over Sedalia, Pettis County area. This is KOMU 8 News First at 5, coverage you can count on.
Saturday, we're going to be at 81, 84 on Sunday, and by midweek next week, we'll be back to our averages right around 88 degrees. That's a look at your weather. We'll be right back with KOMU 8 News First at 5.
Topping your health news today, scientists say they've made a significant milestone for cancer research. They've charted more than 20 disruptive changes to the genetic code, which drive the growth of 30 of the most common cancers. Scientists hope finding out what causes the mutations will help them create new treatments. Breastfeeding could delay a mother's breast cancer diagnosis. A study of more than 500 breast cancer patients finds those who breastfed for more than 6 months received a diagnosis of the disease much later in life, as long as they didn't smoke. Smokers were diagnosed at a younger age and didn't benefit from breastfeeding for a longer period of time. Did you have your morning cup of joe today? You may want to stick to just one. Drinking more than 4 cups of coffee a day could be harmful to your health, especially for those younger than 55. Researchers found doing so increased the risk of death by more than 50% in young people. Those who drank that much coffee had a higher probability of smoking and being out of shape, factors which also increased the risk of death. Here's when a dislike button could be helpful on Facebook. A new study finds the more you use the social media site, the unhappier you feel. Researchers questioned the college-age participants 5 times a day with a text message. They asked what the person was doing, how they felt, and if they had used Facebook recently. The study found the more participants used Facebook, the worse their mood.
Coming up in today's talk, we'll hear what you had to say about the rising cost of groceries and what it means for working families in mid-Missouri. We're exploring that issue tonight at 6 in our Poverty in Plain Sight series. Tonight at 6, KOMU 8's Megan Murphy will explore the effect of rising cost of groceries on everyday mid-Missourians in our Poverty in Plain Sight series. She'll dive into what it means for families, and she'll show us how local food pantries work to meet rising demands. Today, we asked you if you are surprised more families end up using resources like food pantries. Here's what you had to say. Sarah Elizabeth Ridgen said, "It does not surprise me. Middle-class Americans have mortgages, school loans, car payments. The list goes on. With a gallon of milk costing $4 and other staple foods rising in price, there is always more month left at the end of the money." Angel Ray Mason said, "It doesn't surprise me. Food is getting so high it's almost impossible to put a decent meal on the table. And so many people are against social programs that help people anymore that you wonder what the future holds for those that struggle." And Allison Carey Humphrey said, "This already happens all over the country to middle-class folks just like myself. Stinks that at the end of the month or every 2 weeks I have to choose between keeping the lights on or putting food on the table. I work 2 jobs, a full-time and a part-time job. I'm a single parent doing it on my own. Gotta do what I gotta do."
She's not a zebra, and she's not quite a giraffe either. Coming up, meet St. Louis's newest endangered addition.
The State Fair rodeo announcer / school administrator learns a little more about his fate tomorrow as KOMU learns more about the investigation into the man behind the fair stunt.
In a story that made national headlines after someone wore a mask of President Obama at the State Fair this past weekend.
And actually, we're talking about your next weekend as we're looking at your weather forecast. It's going to stay below average for this time of the year. We do have a warm up on the way as we look at your next 8 days in total. We'll break all of that down tomorrow.
Plus a blood drive in the capital city.
Join us for those stories and more tomorrow on KOMU 8 News Today, starting at 4:30.